Hi, everybody. So, are you ready for more revelation? Okay, so yesterday, after I got off the video, God had me pull out my Bible, and I thought He was going to give me scripture. So I was like, okay. So I brought out the Bible, but no, that's not. Well, yes and no. He showed me. He highlighted my notebook, the one that I was using when I was in California to write down, because he was having me do a lot of Bible study in California. He taught me about fish gate. He taught me about the number 0. He taught me a lot of stuff, like a lot of different stuff. Okay. And as he was teaching me these things, he was having me write them down. Sometimes he'd have me write dates, sometimes he didn't. And then he told me, write down what has occurred since the 8th. So I did. I wrote it down in chronological order, wrote down what happened, just snippets, not kind of like a little bit of an outline, but not really. And so I was jotting my notes down, and then God says, those dates look familiar, don't they? I was like, what? He goes, look back. So I was looking back, and I was starting to get frustrated because I'm like, why didn't I not write dates down? And he goes, because I didn't tell you to. And he goes, but keep going. And then finally I get to a page. And on that page, I write down what happened on, was it April 7th? Hang on. I'm going to have to pull out my notebook because I can't remember. And I can't remember. He's not letting me remember. He wants me to pull it up. He wants me to pull out my notebook. Okay. So bear with me because now I got to pull out and I may have to do multiple videos for this one because he really wants me to get into detail about how he's been having me go through this this walk, because there may be others who need to understand their own walk. So, okay. That was my dreams. And then he does want me to share a dream that I had last night. And I'll let him decide when he wants me to talk about it. Because at first I was like, what? And then as I started mulling over the dream, I started to understand what God was saying, because he was revealing it to me step by step. And I was like, okay, it's not what I thought. Oh, here it is. So he had me write down these dates, and I didn't understand, like at all, why these dates would be important. But he had me write down June 1st, June 8th, and July 7th. Now, independently, they don't really matter. But then he told me, what have I been showing you? And I was like, 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, 6. And he goes, okay. When you were in the in the hallway of the house that I just left, the second house, from this Airbnb, I was like in a corridor. And I was the first door on the left. So I went 8, 7, and then 6. And I did write notes on these dates. Now, This is why these dates are important. He asked me to write down starting the 7th. Over there, I wrote 1, 7, and 8. And here I'm writing 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Not our ways. Anyway, so when I saw the days, I was like, oh, yeah. Then he had me write down the information on the 12th, like what happened on the 12th, but in numbers. And I was like, well, I moved into room 8. The code for the lock to the room was 2818. The code to the house was 1999999. 5 nines. If you're not watching Tara, you need to. These numbers have significance in more than just what we know them to mean. We know 9 means ending, but there's other numbers involved in that 9. There's 3s, there's 6s, there's 4s, there's 5s. It depends on how God is leading you. And the only way for you to understand is to understand the different methods that God could be using to speak to you. So if you're not watching Tara, you need to. God is really putting an emphasis on numbers. And I've been telling you that I'm going to start talking in numbers. If you don't understand the key, you're not going to understand the message. Don't be a Pharisee. Okay, so he didn't lead me to write down the times that she had texted me, but he did focus on the shortened stay. Now, I've been saying that yesterday I said that he would be doing a reversal of the reversal. Well, if you're first going forward and now you're going in reverse, so think about this. You're going forward and you go through a certain set of obstacles. And those obstacles took a really long time because you were unbelieving, because you had small faith, because you kept second guessing yourself, because you kept being double-minded, meaning yes, no, do I want to continue walking like this? Not that you were going to walk away from God, or maybe even at some point you did. You were like, you know what? This is too hard. I can't do this. Maybe I should just stay in the world. It'll be easier. Trust me, I've had those thoughts. This is, like I said, this is not an easy walk. Those things that I have faced have really put my faith, my trust in God, my trust in myself, my love of myself, my love of God on the line. Like, I've gotten to the point where I've been like, at what point do I say enough is enough? Especially when I look at all the things that I've lost. But when I really think about the things that I've lost, none of those things had God in it. So what did I lose? And that is what keeps me moving forward. Because if I want my children, who I love with all my heart, to return to God, the only way that's going to happen is to lower myself so that I can ensure that by my obedience, God softens their hearts and turns them back to Him, because they are part of my bloodline. They are my inheritance. So, okay. So, and this is how it started. So yesterday I opened this book, and Father said, go look for the last page. And I did. I went looking for the last page. On the last page, okay, the last date I have written is July 19th. And I was like, and the only passage I have on there is Matthew 4:11. And this is where the revelation started about all of the things that I have been going through. Because God showed me, the last number He showed me as I was leaving that house to move into the new house was 411. I thought information. And then I'll show you, I can't lie. It's right there in black and white. July 19th, 2023, Matthew 4:11. And it says, then the devil left him, and behold, the angels came and ministered unto him. Now this is talking about Jesus when He was in His 40 days of wilderness. Or, yeah, where He went out into the wilderness to battle the flesh, to battle the urges that we have as humans. And this is why He is free of blemish, because He passed His tests without putting a dent in his without committing sin. So, on October 13th, I felt two shifts. One felt like I had fallen out of the sky and like hit hard. I was like, whoa, why did, and then God said, shift. And there was a second shift, but that one wasn't as big. Now, on October 13, He had me write down Matthew 4:11, which is the passage that I had written on July 19th. The dates. The dates. And here is... So I meant to write... I woke up to a shift in my spirit. First was hard. The second, less so. But I wrote the word together. So it looks like soundless. It also looks like secondless. I was like, secondless? Seconds left. You know, I can't make this stuff up. It's just... Yeah, so that's what I have written on that. And, okay, so I talked about yesterday how the woman was going to refund my money. Well, Airbnb had it pending. Said, oh, it's been sent, but it's not expected to hit your account till the 17th. And I was like, well, Father, it's your will. I had the best night's sleep last night that I've had in a very long time in my car. I put up all of my screens. It did get a little cold, so I was like, Father, when I get paid, I will go out and I will buy a blanket so that I can stay warm. This morning, I woke up to the money being deposited into my account. And I was like, wow. But I made a promise to God that even if I received the money, if His will was for me to stay in my car for those few days, that I would. Because everything is in reverse. Okay, so when you have understanding, when you have knowledge, it's easier to get through the things that God is putting in front of you. So when you're going forward, everything takes longer. because you've never been through it before. So there's fear, there's anguish, there's, you were still part of the world. You weren't completely given over to God. So then when you finally turn the corner and you start to make small advances in your faith, you start to feel braver, you start to feel stronger. The small things don't get you down. The bigger things still give you angst, like the moving, the not having gas, not having food, not having the big stuff. But the little stuff, you were hoping to get approved on a loan and it didn't go through. You're like, oh, well, maybe this wasn't God's will. But when you start to run out of money and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten anything, I haven't done any, like I need to feed my kids, I need a place to sleep, I need, those are the big things. Those are the stuff that you keep going, when is this going to change? How is this going to change? That stuff you still have anxiety over, you still have fear over. So I know a lot of you are wondering why God would lead me to allow my dog to poop in a house knowing that it would cause an issue. What does poop mean? And I'm going to get graphic. What does shit mean? What does it mean? Filth, nastiness, pestilence. That's what's in that house. God sent me there to show the owner that in her house is filth and nastiness, and she was not listening. So God had it happen again and again and again. And instead of cleaning her house, of cleaning out the evil, the nastiness that God didn't like, she threw out the only person God has sent to open her eyes. Judgment is here. When I am at your doorstep, there is no more chances. God spit her out. That is why he said, you need to go. But he didn't let me leave, or he didn't let her make me leave in her timing. He decided when I left and how I left. I left with my head held high. I left knowing that it wasn't me, that God used me, that God used my dog to show the nastiness that was inside this house. And the last few days since I left the house, I have been running into police. I had one police officer actually turn around in a parking lot and come after me. But God stepped in and made him go. You see, everyone has free will to listen to God. God tells you, nudges you, don't do this. Go that way. Go this way. If you decide that you don't want to listen to God, he's like, okay. However, if your decision is going to impact an actual faithful, obedient, servant, child of God, he's going to make you move. And he's going to make you move hard, where you're going to feel his hand in your heart. And you're going to be like, what the heck was that? And that's what she felt. That's why she could not throw me out cold-heartedly like she wanted to. And she threatened me. She threatened me. And I didn't defend myself. I just told her, okay. I told her what God told me. And he goes, tell her that you don't want to go through this anymore. That it would be easier if she just closed out your stay. And so I said it to her. I said, you know what? I don't want to deal with this situation anymore. Just close out my stay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay taking a bad rep from Airbnb. And then God said, go look at the reviews that have been done on you. I'm like, people have reviewed me? He's like, yeah, because I've led them to. 3 of the places that I stayed at out of the 5 gave wonderful reviews over me. Wonderful reviews. 2 of those places, same issue. I was gone for long hours of the day because when God says go to work and then he keeps me at work, I stay at work. I don't, I can't, my dog. No, God says work, I work. I put puppy pads out. I understand that I'm going to have a lot of work to do to clean it up. But when I'm obedient, God ensures that my dog poops exactly where he needs to poop. And not one of the places that I was at where I had a similar situation did they complain about a dog smell. Not even the people that moved in after. But the stench was not me. The stench was not my dog. The stench was the filth that was in that house. The stench was the filth of the evil spirit that is sitting, just squatting over that house. And the darkness, it was. I walked in and I'm like, wow, this house is so dark. The second house I went to, the house was so bright and open, and it just felt different. But guess where that woman spends the time? The cleaner. Because the cleaner is the issue. She brings in the filth. She brings in the nastiness, the pestilence. And this woman didn't understand why her business wasn't thriving. She blamed me. I'm like, I just moved in. I've only been here 3 days. I didn't cause any of your issues. These issues have been here since before I arrived. God was giving you an opening, a chance to see it for what it was, and you didn't. You closed your eyes, you closed your ears, you shut your heart, and you walked away. And now God is saying, you've made your choice. You've made your bed. Now lie in it. You filthy cow. And I don't talk about people like that. I look for the best in people. I look even for the people that are living on the streets. Even when I know that the person in front of me is trying to do me harm, is trying to wish me the horrible things to happen, is praying that I get fired, I still don't look at them and think that they're a nasty person or they're, disgusting or that I don't like them. I still treat them cordially. I still wish them the best. I still pray that they find the light, because darkness is not fun. I've been there. And so last night, early this morning actually, I had a dream. And God, this is where I was going with it. So this is probably going to be a 2-video part. So in this dream, God took me through my entire life in a split second. In the beginning, I was married and I was with my husband, and he came over and he started kissing me. And I was disgusted. I was like, ugh. And I do remember feeling that way when I was married. Not in the beginning, but towards the end, I couldn't stand kissing him anymore. In the dream, okay, I don't know if those of you who have watched Spider-Man have seen Venom, where that tongue that comes out and is, that's what his tongue looked like. And he was trying to shove it down my throat. And I'm like, and he kept trying to open my mouth. And finally, he pushed me away and he's like, where are all these ants coming from? And I'm like, ants? And I looked around and I'm like, wow, there is a lot of ants. And when I was a little kid, I used to love just pushing on the ants. I know that was mean. But then I was following the ants because I do like watching ants. And I was following them and following them and following them. And I found them in their nest. But it wasn't in the ground. It came out of the ground. And there was like these little tunnels and they would go down into it. And then I was like, look, 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 I found them. I found them. They're right here. This is where they live. And then my ex-husband shows up and he's got a sprayer with pesticide in it to kill the ants. But he's not just spraying the ants, he's spraying me too. And I was like, it caught me off guard. First off, I was like, Father, please don't tell me this means that I'm going to get back together with him. He put me through the ringer. And while I don't hate him, that would be very difficult for me to return to a man who literally fornicated with Lucifer and blasphemed against the Holy Spirit. And I say these things because he came into agreement with the things that with the witchcraft that the woman who raised me was doing on me. And not only did he come into agreement with it, he was helping her to undermine my belief in God by pretending to be God. Not my ex-husband, but the woman who raised me. So since they collaborated together to come up with this idea, because they understood that as long as I believe in God, that they wouldn't be able to attach to me. But they used my faith against me. And so that is a unforgivable sin, to blaspheme against the Father, against the Holy Spirit. And that's exactly what they did. So, and God has already showed me that, but this dream confused me. So I was mulling it over, and he kept showing me the number 10, the number 10, the number 10. And then he goes, what does it mean to come full circle? I was like, well, it means you're passing the same point you passed before. And each time it gets faster and faster because you know where you're going. And the first time it's hard because you don't know the path. So you're going around kind of wading through. And he goes, okay. And what happens the second time? Well, it gets a little faster because now you're just following what you did before. And now the line is straighter. It's smoother. And he goes, and what happens when you do it again and again and again? So I went out to eat on the 10th. I spent exactly $10.10. My ticket number was number 10. And he asked me, he goes, why did I have the Israelites go around Jericho 7 times? And he goes, think about not in terms of what they were doing, but, or not the reason why they were doing it, but think about how they were doing it. And, well, cities, they're kind of built in like a circle. You know, even if they're a square, you're still going to find a circle because you can't, you know, you can't go this way, that way, that way, that way. You could, but you end up eventually it looks more like a circle when you go around and around and around. The first time, yes, you're following the direction of the outline of the city, but as you get more comfortable with the direction that you are going, you tend to make it more of a circle. And Father kept telling me, and he goes, they didn't have a direction of going. They were just walking around in a circle. What do you how do you think they felt every time they finished a circle? Like they had a long way to go. They couldn't see the end in sight, even though they only had to go around 7 times. And he goes, now think about what happens when you're going full circle in your life. So if the first time it takes you longer because you're doing things for the first time. The second time you go around in a circle, it's a little less so, because now you know the area, now you know the times of the traffic, now you know, so you're getting through faster. And by the 5th one, you're getting comfortable. You're like, yeah, I got this. But then God has to deviate you, send you this way and that way, because the enemy gets comfortable with knowing your pattern. Oh, this is your pattern. Okay, I got you. So I can put this here and stop you. I can put this here and send you back crawling into your skin. I can put this here. And God's like, oh, no. So okay, we're gonna continue in the circle, but take this path. Go this way. Well, you know what? Let's go under the pass and go this way. Well, no, why don't, instead of do a circle, a smaller circle, and go back the way you came. So now you're going in reverse. So first I went forward to the place where I was born. And I went through the life that I would have gone through had I been there since childbirth. And then when that was done, he sent me to the city where I was taken when I was a child. And I went through those things. But they were not as long as the first time, because the first time was my life. I went through life the best I could. And then God circled me back. And he said, okay, this is how it should have gone without me. Okay, now this is how it should have gone with me. Now this is how it should have gone with your faith